Odin carries a severed head. Everywhere he goes, tied to his belt like a trophy. But it's not a trophy. It still speaks. It whispers secrets, answers questions, gives counsel that has shaped the fate of 9 realms. And when Ragnarok finally comes, Odin will ask that rotting head how to survive it. The head belonged to Mimir, the wisest being who ever lived, and this is how wisdom rewards its keepers. Beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, where the world tree drinks from the darkness, there was a well. Mimir's well. The waters held everything that had ever been known, and everything that ever would be. Memory itself pooled there, cold and still. Mimir guarded it. Some say he was a god, others say a giant. I don't think it matters. What matters is this. He drank from that well every day, and every day he grew wiser. He remembered things that hadn't happened yet. He understood truths that would drive lesser minds to madness. Then Odin came. The All-Father, already ancient, already cunning, knelt at the edge of that well and begged for a single drink, just one sip of that water. Mimir looked at him, this god who had already hung himself from the world tree for 9 days, who had already suffered more than most beings could imagine. And Mimir named his price, an eye. Not gold, not blood, not a favor to be called in later. He wanted Odin to carve out his own eye and drop it into the well. Odin didn't hesitate. He reached up, pressed his fingers into the socket, and pulled. The sound was wet, final. He held his own eye in his palm, watched blood drip between his fingers, and let it fall into the water. Then he drank. And Odin became the wisest of the gods. That should have been the end of it. But the gods went to war, the Aesir against the Vanir, 2 families of gods tearing each other apart over pride and territory, and old grudges no one could quite remember. The fighting dragged on until both sides grew tired of burying their dead. So they called a truce, and as proof of good faith, they exchanged hostages. The Vanir sent their best. Njord, god of the sea. Freyr and Freya, shining and powerful. The Aesir looked at what they'd received and knew they had to match it. They sent Honir, tall, handsome, athletic, and about as sharp as a wooden sword. The man could barely string a sentence together without help. So Odin sent Mimir along with him. He'll advise you, Odin told the Vanir. Together, they'll serve you well. It worked, for a while. The Vanir made Honir a chieftain. They brought him their problems, their disputes, their questions. And every time, he delivered brilliant answers. Wise counsel that solved what seemed unsolvable. But then someone noticed. Whenever Mimir wasn't in the room, Honir had nothing to say. Ask him a question without his advisor nearby. And all he could manage was, let others decide. The Vanir realized they'd been tricked. They hadn't received a wise chieftain. They'd received a fool and his handler. And Odin had known it all along. What they did next, I still see it when I close my eyes. They didn't kill Honir. That would have restarted the war. Instead, they took Mimir, the one who had actually been valuable, the one Odin had used as a puppet master for his puppet. They held him down, drew a blade, and they cut off his head. Then they wrapped it in cloth, put it in a box, and sent it back to Asgard. Odin opened that box alone. I don't know what he felt when he saw what was inside. Grief, maybe. Guilt. Or maybe just calculation, even then, wondering how to salvage something from the ruin. He lifted the head out. Mimir's eyes were still open, his face frozen in whatever expression he'd worn at the end. Odin cradled it like something precious. Then he went to work. He gathered herbs, smeared them across the dead flesh to stop the rot. He chanted spells, old magic, dark magic, words that should never be spoken over the dead. And slowly, the mouth began to move. Mimir's eyes didn't blink. His skin stayed gray. But when Odin asked a question, the head answered. From that day forward, Odin carried Mimir everywhere. He consulted the head before battles, before treaties, before decisions that would reshape the cosmos. The wisest being who ever lived, reduced to a tool, a thing to be pulled out when needed and put away when not. I wonder sometimes if Mimir is aware, if some part of him knows what he's become, a severed head that cannot die, cannot rest, cannot refuse to answer, bound to serve the god who sent him to his death in the first place. The fire burns low. These old bones grow cold. Think on that next time you meet someone wiser than yourself. Some gifts cost more than the giver, and some prices get paid forever.